Right, ladies and gentlemen, and this time we're going to look at the fourth presentation of formation flying. Straight into it, formation flying, flight planning. The planning tasks, obviously there's going to be some paperwork, initial planning phase, flight planning, timing runs, formation, pilot briefing. All right, remember you're not always going to do, let's say, something with a formation. Maybe we're just going out for practice. Then there's not going to be a fly past plan and stuff like that. Although you will still have to go through the hoops and you must still do the full briefing. But let's go through the whole section and see how it fits in. The scenario I just sketched is cheetah formation through fly plus at the local rugby stadium at obviously a specified time. The formation has 4 members, opening of the game, international TV, and precise timing. That's the thing about when you do formation flying over openings and stuff like that, is that it is done against precision timing. So if they say, man, it's going to be 1400 overhead, they don't mean 1359 or 1401. As a rule, you have to work on the second to be there. Now, there's a lot to say. I mean, obviously, if you're in the sky, you are visible from there to there. So you're going to be visible for, let's say, 15 seconds or so before you actually overhead. But we're going to work on overhead time. Right. First one, clearances. And I think this is quite important that we do speak about it, because a lot of people think you just jump in and you're going to perform at this air show and with this opening of a school or whatever. There were various clearances and tasks to legally perform, permission from the property owner which the flight past will be performed. I mean, there must be a request, okay? There is a request and then a permission that you can be part of it. Don't skip this. Not word by mouth, word of mouth. Written, letter, proof, proof. When you go and you've got to defend your actions later on, there must be proof. Okay. And then you've got your community question, which is 7 days lead. RASA can definitely help there. Stipulate the pilot's names, type of aircraft. Okay. What we normally do is we start speaking with the local AT&S and all that. Although we get the clearances, remember that although you get the clearances, the ATC, if it's in their controlled airspace, then they still need to know, and they've got preferences with other traffic, and they can give you quite a bit of trouble. So there must be prior communication, all right? Talk it out nicely. This is what we want to do. This is the dependency. This is the time. This is where you're going to be, so that people can make plans, so that we don't interfere with national, international flights and stuff like that. All right. Receive the COMI authority, and then a flight plan if required. Flight plan is just one of the pieces of paper again, all right? You get frightened when you think about the flight plan. Put the thing in, because then ATC is now officially warned that you're going to be there. And you've spoken to them, and you made it official, and you've got the COMI clearances and all there. So you should be ready to rock and roll. Okay, in the beginning, the first thing is the leader of the formation needs to be appointed. Now, I've spoken about this before, you know, we tend to say, okay, you're not so good at flying there, where you're going to make you a lead. Lead, in this case, has got a phenomenal amount of planning to do. In the flying, in the execution of this fly blast that you're performing, it's going to be important that he can think and fly. So be careful who you take as the leader. All right. Okay, the leader is briefed on precise requirements. Lead starts by studying the layout and, yeah, Google Earth map 1 in 50,000 if it's over an area, if you can get hold of such a large map. Not 1 in 500, not 1 in a million, 1 in 50. Google, I think that is probably presently the answer. I'm not even sure if they still make 1 in 50,000 mats. I'm not sure. All high building, mast, antennas, towers, everything must be plotted, and you plot it on. So let's say you've said, this is the area I'm going to work in. You take a picture from that, from Google Earth, and you start plotting your dangerous areas. You have to know the lay of the land. No, you're not there yet. You haven't tried it. You haven't seen anything. This is prior to the thing. There must be excellent, proper planning. Remember, once you're in the run, you can't say, oh, I didn't think about that. That's going to be a national disaster if it's on the TVs and stuff like that. An initial point is established with the running direction and the running time plan around 1 minute to 30 seconds or more. Why do we take such a long run in? Well, remember that once you established on the run in and everybody is running towards the target over which you're going to perform, people has got to settle in, everybody's got to form up nicely, and as I said, yeah, from 30 seconds to prior overhead, man, you better be in good formation, otherwise, you know, it's going to look bad. And by the way, you're going to stay in that perfect position over and out, because people will watch you as you come, and they will watch you as you go. So it doesn't mean that just once you're over it, now you can relax. You can't. You must stay perfect formation. The initial point, such a run direction will depend on the obstacles, the sun, the crowd, the maximum, you know, all the distances. So you actually work it out from which way. Remember that you need to now let, it doesn't help that you just come from any side and the TV guys or whoever is running the scene on the ground, they don't know which direction you're coming from. So there's a lot of liaison. So once you work out the plan, cover the plan with them, well knowing that for them it's going to be very difficult to film you if you come out of the sun. You can't be hung out of the sun. That's not going to work. The height of the fly path system with the obstacles at least 500 feet higher than the holding pattern, and. I say that, and the lead plan at least 500 feet higher, holding pattern. In other words, the run-in, there we can go slightly lower, but the run-in or the holding pattern is at such a height that you do not have to pay attention to obstacles. The only obstacle number 2, 3, and 4 is worried about is number 1. The only thing that number 1 is worried about is the timing. Where are we? And when must I set heading that last minute and a half or 2 minutes or whatever I decided, so that I can be within the visual time slot overhead. Right. Power during the run-in must stay a constant unless formation member asks for a reduction. By that time you should have sorted out. Reduction in power is very small. And I'm just saying an inch at a time. Get the GPS coordinates and ensure accuracy. Visit the site. You can visit the site on the ground if you want to see it. If there is a prior sort of planning involved, I would normally just go out with an aircraft single, go and look. I've now established these points, just fly the circuit myself, do a run-in at a timing run, fly over the area where I was going to be, just to get myself au fait. And look, sometimes we can't because we go far away place. I mean, Scully and the guys can't, you know, go and do a timing run here, there, and the rest. So it just gets, it just needs good planning, an excellent planning beforehand. Here I've got a little bit of a sketch of a flight path plan, and the first part that I want to show here is this is the target area, this is the holding area. Here I set plus 500 feet, minimum height can be more, but rate of descent on run is preferably not above 500 feet. The run in, that little part, the run in there, in between, if you're at this height, and you need to be at this height, that descent, and then level off at the next height. Remember that if the changes are minute and small, and to descend 500 feet in a minute and a half or 2 minutes will give you a rate of descent 250, 300, 350 feet a minute. And that's the kind of thing that you must just take it in consideration. Don't make it difficult. If you can run at the same height, cool. Then normally we just fly a little bit lower when we actually time over target. But in many cases, I've flown this where we maintain exactly the same height right through the whole exercise. I've got myself an IP point. Let me mark it there for us, IP point. And then there I start my running, and I've got my holding pattern. The formation sticks with me. Tight formation to flying very neat takes a phenomenal amount of concentration. So in the holding pattern, the people are sitting in formation, but they sit a little bit more loose, just a little bit more loose. Okay? And then as you're coming for the run in, then the people will tuck in. Okay? And that's then when you form up, you get the formation stabilized, and the leader informs, obviously, the rest of the crowd. Here you can see I'm working on 1 minute legs there, and from this point to this point, that amount of time that we've got here normally comes to play. Now, many a times, the guy on the ground, because we've got a ground liaison guy in this case, somebody just to talk there, just to say, are you early, are you late? Because it happens that sometimes the podium or the walkout or whatever, because the watches weren't perfectly synchronized or whatever the case might be, that the overhead time can change. Now, I've been in situations due to technical errors on the ground that the actual overhead time changed with as much as 15 minutes. And you just keep on circling. Don't get upset. You're doing the greatest thing in the world. You're having fun in an aeroplane. Don't panic. If there's a delay, it's fine. But now the leader must start working out. If the new time over target is this, minus the 130, what is the time to set heading here? Once he's got in his mind what his set heading time is, he's got this. And remember, a rate 1 turn will take you 2 minutes. So this is 1 minute, this is 1 minute, this is 1 minute, and this is 1 minute. So if you do a full pattern, it's a 4-minute pattern. But you can cut these out, and then you can get it down to 2 minutes. If you still need a 30 seconds, there's other ways to do it. You can do a little bit of an offset, like for instance, a cocked hat or something on the run in, getting a little bit more advanced, retarding a little bit of power, increasing a little bit, depending on the shape. Okay, but you've got a little bit of leeway so that you can, be within the correct visual sight here until overhead, that you're there within, let's say, 10 to 15 seconds before to 10 to 15 seconds after. It's actually a relative gap, but we talk about time over target. And normally time over target is quite possible to be within a 5-second period. And a 5-second period in anybody's book, remember, because the moment that you start running in, the cameras are on you. And it doesn't matter when you're there, right enough, they're going to follow you through anyway. But that you in that time bracket that you're into the visual of whoever's on the ground. Okay, very stable. Call that you IP running in the formation here is that the person contact on the ground will know that. If there's no person on the ground, it's a little bit of a problem, because then you're just working on the synchronized times before. Then the second one here is that you've got 1 minute 30 seconds, 1 minute 30 seconds, and steady. Now we fly over and we do it as great as we can, and we continue on. Fly at least 30 seconds over if you can. I'm talking now about just the fly past, okay? Because if you start turning too early, the positions might not be that smooth in the formation anymore. So you go over remember the camera is going to follow you, stay in your position, and about 30 seconds, the lead will say, cheetah formation, left turn, go, 2, 3, and he will ease it in just very, very smooth to start the turn, and everybody just keeps their position because you're now etched. In many cases, you're etched against the skyline and they can see how you're flying. Still no relaxing until you out of sight, out of mind. Okay, the timing phases. The time run is well prepared, GPS. You've got your initial point. The indicated airspeed, power relationship, taking it into the formation members, and. You would have worked it out, and you have to settle the power problem before you even get to the hold. So from wherever you take off, once you're in the formation, for the conditions pertaining at that specific day, not a good idea to take passengers in any of the aircraft. If there is an extra member on board of any aircraft, it may be in the lead. But you don't want to take away the power capabilities of anybody else in that. All right? So as a rule, we don't put second person. The only reason there's then 2 people in the lead is to help with the planning and the radio work and stuff like that. Because nothing stands still. It's a total dynamic exercise. All right, so power management is one of the big crises, but you will, as you start doing formation, you will get to know that problem intimately. The timing lines is the following: IP suitable, hold markers, running track suitable, time over, threats along the paths, how would you compensate for errors, break-off routes, noise-sensitive areas, areas where aircraft emergencies can force land, minimum height, and there is just a whole lot of stuff to think of, and that's all on the suitability. From your IP, are you going to do a hold where it's above a school that's busy? I mean, that's going to be a little bit of a problem because they ain't going to like it. Because you're going to now sit in the hold for 15 minutes and somebody is going to be getting upset with you. So just think about the obstructions, what you're going to do, emergency capabilities, and so on and so forth. Now just a couple of tips for the planning. In the next session 5, presentation 5, then I'm going to stitch everything together. We're going to take a practical one, we're going to run it out through the briefing, we're going to run it out how sequentially things are going to happen, and then we're going to put it together. Just a reminder, if you haven't seen the previous ones, start with one, because in the first presentations, you are being exposed there for the first time to the types of formation and how and as you go I've built it up to the point now where you understand the radio calls, you understand the type of formations, you understand the dynamics of the formation. So in section 5, hold on, then we're going to stitch it all together.